Hello, good evening. Much of Wales has today been dealing with the aftermath of yet another storm as high winds and heavy rainfall affected several communities. Storm Bram left some 1,600 homes without power last night, and ferries between South Wales and Ireland remain suspended this evening as operators wait for calmer waters. Well, tonight we're live across the country with the very latest, and first we'll head to the west where Lewis Rees-Jones is in Carmarthen for us. Lewis, what's the picture there this evening?
Katie, noswaith dda. Well, the River Towy in Carmarthen is still very much in fast flow tonight, but I've got to say, in the time we've been here filming today, the river levels have dropped significantly. It was only this morning we were over on the quayside where many businesses are located, and the water was merely inches away from bursting the banks, but thankfully that wasn't the case on this occasion. Clearly a lot of travel chaos and disruption across many parts of the country, but communities also glad to have avoided the worst of it in many areas. Twice in the space of a month, the Towy Valley is yet again submerged, this time thanks to Storm Bram. This latest bout of torrential weather may have made conditions difficult for commuters, but it's also brought anxiety to people's doorsteps. This cafe has only just recovered after the last flood that hit Carmarthen just a few weeks ago.
We clean everything, a few freezers gone, oven, so we replace everything and a lot of cleaning there, so that's all. For 10 days we closed, so we lost a lot of income as well as wages for the staff.
And while the community and loyal customers have been a great support to Hagan's Cafe in the aftermath, there's always the worry it could happen again.
Every time it is a warning, and if it is drain comes a little bit higher, so we are on alert. We've got some floodgates and we got some things, so we are trying to lift everything up. Even last night I was here till 1 o'clock in the early morning, so that's how it is at the minute.
Water levels are now falling, but there's plenty of disruption and road closures still in place across many parts of Wales. If you look over my shoulder, the floodgates here in Abergwili are still firmly shut. And Natural Resources Wales are warning us to check before we travel and to keep an eye on their website for flood alerts. And with weather like this looking like it's set to continue over the winter months, we might have to get used to sights like this. Towy Works along the quay has weathered many storms over the years and have taken many measures to mitigate an increasing number of floods affecting this area.
I think we've taken a lot on from that, and we're more pragmatic nowadays, as in we've installed flood barriers, water pumps, and we've just constructed a new brick wall. So I think, yeah, looking back historically, we've taken a lot on from that, and so yeah, it hasn't been too bad, especially in the shop further up. It's been okay. But when referring to the yard, they've been hit a little bit harder.
Christmas is around the corner, but with floods like this becoming a frequent occurrence, it's hard for those affected to feel festive.
Lewis, some really shocking images there, and as you say, this is just the latest bad weather to affect the area. Tell us more about the mood locally given the increased intensity of these weather events.
Fed up, I think, is a fair description for how many people are feeling, Katie, but I'd go as far as to say that it's make or break for some businesses. After all, it was only yesterday I was speaking to a pub landlord who may go bust after being flooded out twice in the space of a few weeks. But it's not only here in West Wales that's been affected by Storm Bram. You've got the M4. There was travel chaos on that until the early hours of this morning after the Prince of Wales Bridge had to remain closed after a light post falling. It's since been discovered that there is a defect in 35 of those lampposts that will need replacing on that bridge. And earlier on we spoke to National Highways for the latest.
It's the right thing we did, but obviously it's not the right thing because a lamp column fell down, and that we can't allow that to happen. So we're carrying out a review to make sure it doesn't happen again. Clearly we'll be looking at frequency of the inspections and those type of issues. Safety is our number one priority, so we've got to make sure this doesn't happen. And if that costs more money, then we'll make that happen.
And many of us like to weather out the storm indoors in these sorts of conditions, but that didn't stop some people from being affected in their own houses, because National Grid reported that there were 1,600 homes without power as of 5:30 yesterday. So everyone's been disrupted in some way or the other in the past 24 hours, Katie, and I'd say many of us are just hoping for kinder weather conditions to see out the rest of the year.
Absolutely, Lewis. Thanks very much for that update. Well, we'll move to the north now, because there was disruption on the railway last night after a Blaenau Festiniog bound train struck a tree. Transport for Wales says the service has now returned to normal. Our reporter Ian Lang is live in the Conwy Valley this evening. Ian, what more do we know?
Right, much of the line is at its vulnerable points is protected by rock armour, but of course there's no way to predict a falling tree in a storm, and that's what happened here yesterday afternoon when the 1612 from Llandudno to Blaenau Festiniog hit a tree on the line a few miles up from here at Glanconwy. The tree got stuck under the train. No one was hurt. It wasn't derailed. Nobody was injured. It must have been a very, very frightening experience for passengers. Now, they were evacuated on another train to Llandudno Junction. The line was cleared and the line was back to normal today.
And were any buildings damaged as a result, Ian?
Well, high winds took the roof lining and insulation off part of the leisure centre at Holyhead. Now, staff and public were evacuated and thankfully there were no injuries, but obviously they had to close it. Now, they've been assessing the damage today and say they want to open it again as quickly as they possibly can.
And just tell us a bit more about how Holyhead Port has been affected by the bad weather, Ian.
Well, Terminal 5 was damaged during an incident in stormy weather on Friday, and stormy weather over the weekend has prevented investigations. Now, this afternoon in the Senedd there was a question about the port's resilience in bad weather. That's something we know a lot about.
The task force was notified of both Friday's incident and also the weather warnings that resulted, of course, in Storm Bram. Now, I've spoken with the port operators on a number of occasions since the incident on Friday, including just now this afternoon, and the port will shortly be issuing an update that will confirm that there is to be no reduction in capacity and no reduction in the number of sailings.
Now, that's reassuring news, but it does show how vulnerable our infrastructure is in these turbocharged storms. OK, Ian, thanks very much for the update. And we'll, of course, have a full weather forecast for you later in the programme. Next tonight, a Blackwood man says he feels let down after his father waited 6 hours for treatment of a suspected head trauma. Scott Heaton says it took an extra 4 hours then for a doctor to see his 84-year-old dad. It comes on the day of a Senedd debate on corridor care after the Royal College of Nursing and British Medical Association joined forces to garner 10,000 signatures in a petition against the practice. Our national correspondent Rob Osborne has more.
When Vic was taken to hospital a few weeks ago with a suspected head trauma, his son Scott had no idea how long the 84-year-old would wait to be seen.
They sent us to the head trauma unit, where my dad was instantly just sat in a chair, and nobody come and checked on him for 6.5 hours properly. So they didn't do no eye checks, no scans, nothing to do with his nose. His lip was all swollen. He wasn't given any drink or food until 7 hours later.
Was he bleeding?
Yeah.
What's your overall feeling about the state of the NHS?
You keep hearing on the news it is like a breaking point, and I think is already broke. You know, they're saying there's not enough staff, and they're saying that there's too many people going there to A&E, which, yeah, I understand that there may be a lot of people going to A&E, but it's definitely broken.
It's one example of a system under pressure, and it was on the minds of these protesters outside the Senedd, many of them represented by the British Medical Association and the Royal College of Nursing, highlighting the need to end the practice of treating patients in corridors.
It's not good for patients. I look after older patients. I'm a geriatrician, and unfortunately on a day-to-day basis I'm looking after people in cupboards, in corridors, in car parks, anywhere that you can put a patient now throughout hospitals in Wales. That is where people are, and it's extremely harmful. They estimate that in Wales each week about 20 people are dying just from long waits in the emergency department, which is directly as a result of corridor care and long delays for treatment.
Ahead of the debate in the Senedd, the protesters highlighted a petition they had calling for the change.
The power is with the politicians. We say, to start with, let's understand what the problem is. Why is it that only Wales is not measuring what's going on? We don't know how long patients are sitting in chairs for. Anecdotally, we know that the older you are, the more likely you are to sit in a chair for over 24 hours.
Meanwhile, the First Minister says she agrees with them.
Well, we've been very clear that we don't want to see corridor care happening. Now, that is difficult when you have these massive pressures in the NHS, and particularly at this time of year when flu is rising.
As for Scott, he's hoping reforms will come, so people like his dad don't have to wait too long in hospital.
Well, Rob's at the Senedd for us this evening. And Rob, this topic was on the agenda, high on the agenda there today.
Yes, that's right, Katie, because if you imagine all MSs in here will represent constituents who will themselves or will have known someone who has probably experienced either a long wait or been treated in a corridor in hospital. And as you heard, a lot of the clinicians who were standing on these steps earlier on say it shouldn't happen. The First Minister herself says it shouldn't happen. But there was a debate in here this afternoon, so let's get a little sense of it. First of all, Plaid Cymru's health spokesman, Mabon ap Gwynfor.
Corridor care has become an almost inescapable part of hospital care. What should be the exception has now been normalised, with people receiving treatment in chairs, in staff rooms, or even on the floor. Some health boards are even advertising for corridor care nurses. This is, if nothing else, a damning symbol of Labour's mismanagement over a quarter of a century.
So here there from Mabon ap Gwynfor targeting Labour there. Don't forget, an election for this place in less than 5 months now. So you're going to hear a lot about health. We've heard from the First Minister there in my report. What about the Health Secretary, Jeremy Miles? Well, he was responding to the debate.
We do not endorse routine care in non-clinical environments. Our goal is to eliminate this practice through system-wide reform. Eradicating care in undesignated or non-clinical environments will not be a simple, quick fix. It requires coordinated action across health and social care.
So you heard there from the Health Secretary saying this will not be a quick fix. Everyone knows the destination they want to get to, but it is going to take a while. And the call today here really was for basic things like collecting data of how many people are actually waiting in corridors, how big a problem corridor care is. And don't forget, the First Minister highlighting in her interview with us earlier on that, you know, we're in flu season, cold season, and that could cause even more pressure on hospitals. And sadly, in the short term, we may even see more of this before this situation gets better.
OK, Rob, outside the Senedd for us this evening. Thanks very much. As Christmas closes in, we all know the strain the festive season can put on household budgets. But one charity in Wales says more than 1,000 parents, children and young people struggling with just the basics have needed its help in the past year. 30% of their applicants are said to be from working families, and there are calls tonight for more to be done to help those facing such hardship. Isa Farfall reports.
Asda and Barry Morrison's are 0.2 pence cheaper than Culverhouse Cross, which is unusual.
Sarah is counting the cost for this month. Every penny matters. Living with a chronic health condition and raising her daughter alone, she's doing everything she can to give her daughter a normal Christmas.
You just can't rock up at a supermarket and put whatever you want in the trolley. Everything has to be counted out to the last penny. And a lot of the time you don't go to the supermarket with your child because otherwise, can I have, hearing no all the time gets upsetting both for your child and for yourself.
She's trying to protect her 10-year-old daughter from the stress, but behind the scenes, every bill every food shop is a struggle.
It's not as simple as just getting over it and having a bad day. The way the cost of living is at the moment, every day is a bad day. You cannot get through it.
And Sarah isn't alone. New figures shared with ITV show hundreds of families like hers have turned to action for children for crisis support over the past year and a half. Many still in work but still struggling to get by. And the impact isn't just on parents, it's hitting children too.
We've seen real challenges as a result of the cost of living crisis. More and more families are struggling to put meals on the table for their children, they're struggling to buy warm clothes, they're struggling to make sure the children have the basic necessities that they need, which is why Action for Children is stepping in to provide the crisis fund to help provide some of those basic necessities.
What are we packing here today, Andy?
We've got a whole bunch of stuff for an individual who needs to set up.
And here in Swansea, Coachmauer Multibank is trying to fill the gap, offering clothing, baby supplies and even smartphones to help families stay afloat.
So in the last 18 months we've supported tens of thousands of people within Swansea. That includes children, it includes families and over 60s. And in the first 12 months of operation we distributed 1 million units to residents of Swansea.
For many families, crisis support can mean the difference between coping and going without. And this Christmas, with so many people reaching breaking point, Charities may be the only option to keep warm, fed and supported through the hardest month of the year. Isa Farfor, ITV News.
Still to come. Nick Miller will hopefully be able to bring us some better news on the weather front.
After Storm Bram, the weather isn't completely dry, but there is only one band of rain moving through between now and Saturday night. I'll have the latest forecast.
And handshakes and harmonies. The First Minister meets with the Japanese ambassador to sing the national anthem and build stronger links between Wales and Japan. But first, it's an emotional subject and one that divides opinions. But a bill to allow terminally ill adults to take their own lives is currently making its way through the House of Lords. If it's passed, the bill will be made law in England, but the members of the Senedd will need to support a legislative consent motion before it becomes law in Wales. Marie-Claire Kerry-Jones reports.
We really enjoyed Christmas.
Claire Williams' dad is never far from her thoughts, particularly at Christmas. Paul Jones died from bowel cancer, but it was the way he died that Claire found harder to cope with. That's why Claire's now a supporter of assisted dying.
My mum was sharing the bed with him when he was lying unconscious in the bed for a week. We didn't know what he knew in that week. We didn't know if he was suffering in that week. He couldn't communicate, he couldn't tell us anything. We had no idea.
And after going through that with your father, you're now in a similar situation with your father-in-law.
So he's got lung cancer and he wants to choose. And he's really angry that he can't choose. He said, why can't I choose when I go?
But assisted dying is controversial, with protesters on both sides making their voices heard at Parliament. The assisted dying bill is currently being scrutinised by the House of Lords, but even if it's made law, it will still need the support of Senedd members here in Cardiff Bay if it's to be implemented in Wales. Campaigners opposed to the bill have been at the Senedd to discuss their concerns.
When you really look at what the bill would mean in practice, it's impossible to ensure that people are not being coerced. The healthcare system is in such a state at the moment in terms of under-resourcing and being overstretched that it's just not safe to do it within healthcare at all.
That argument was being made after a visit to the Senedd by the MP who first introduced the assisted dying bill.
We must hear the voices of people in Wales, but also it's really important for me to engage on a cross-party basis with MSs here in the Senedd to make sure that those negotiations and those discussions are done in a very compassionate way, fully respectful of devolution.
Back in Talbot Green, Claire says she hopes the Welsh Parliament will follow Westminster's lead.
I hope that we have the same rights and access in Wales as they will in England. I know it's not going to be straightforward and easy, and it has to be that way to have safeguards in place. It does, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen here. and that people can't choose.
And she believes her father would have felt the same. Marie-Claire Carey-Jones, ITV News.
A Mountain Ash charity that supports children with autism says it's devastated after thieves broke into its nursery. But the community has rallied around, as Caddy Gwyn-Edwards reports.
A place where children come to feel safe, understood and supported. But when staff from ASD Rainbow's nursery arrived on Sunday morning, they were met with a shocking sight.
They made the hole in the wall together.
Someone had broken in by creating a hole in the wall, stealing 5 iPads and almost £500, which had been raised to pay for a special Christmas trip. Cleaner KC was the first to notice the break-in.
I instantly felt sick. I was so scared just because he was already in here because I didn't check the whole place. It was just traumatising.
The Mountain Ash-based charity offers specialist care for children with autism and other related conditions, but the theft has left workers here heartbroken.
The iPads, they're not used to play games. The iPads are a form of communication for the children. So when you take their communication away, you take their voice, you take their words. And I think that was most upsetting. It's a horrible feeling. And we just felt physically sick, and all the staff have been so upset this week.
Despite the heartbreak caused by this theft, the strength in community and the kindness shown has been truly heartwarming.
As soon as the community heard what had happened, we've received messages, phone calls, a GoFundMe page was set up. Everybody has rallied round. We just feel totally overwhelmed with the response that we've had, and it just makes you realise how much this service is needed.
The local community has since raised over £7,000 for the nursery.
It's a small community, and you see that, gosh, everybody here looks after their own, and it's blown us away, absolutely blown us away.
What began as a devastating setback for the nursery has instead sparked an extraordinary show of local kindness. Caddy Gwyn-Edwards, ITV News in Mountain Ash.
Cast your minds back to the start of the year, and you may remember when the Japanese ambassador to the UK became an internet sensation after declaring his love for Wales and learning the national anthem. Well, today he was in Conwy to mark the end of the Wales and Japan year and was joined by the First Minister for another rendition. Rob Shelley takes up the story.
Conwy Castle's seen a lot of stuff in its time. Wars, rebellions, royal progresses, but probably never anything quite like this.
My hen lad van hadayan and oil he me.
Yes, the Japanese ambassador and Wales's First Minister having a national anthem sing-along to celebrate Wales's Year of Japan. A duet included absolutely free with the cost of admission. At this point, I should point out that Mr. Suzuki, the Japanese ambassador, isn't just the Japanese ambassador, he's also a bit of a social media star.
I'm celebrating St. David's Day with delicious Welsh cake.
Actually, singing in a castle wasn't even the most surreal thing that happened today. The Knights Templar of Conwy win that battle. But behind the hugs, handshakes and Welsh cakes lay a year of cultural and business exchanges. 70 Japanese firms work in Wales. We've even twinned Conwy Castle here with Himoji Castle in Japan.
The relationship in particular between this UNESCO castle and the one in Japan is an example of where we can work together, find common areas, but also have some fun.
Yes.
The ambassador seems to be quite big on fun. He's even adopted a sidekick, even if he didn't buy him a drink. Ambassador, welcome to Wales. I'm slightly disappointed you haven't brought Paddington with you.
Paddington is somewhere.
Indeed he was, although he'd missed out on all the nights. You're obviously a man who's loving his job at the moment.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to show my affection and love for the UK. So I am so grateful that people in Wales and people across the UK are welcoming me, and they just like what I am doing.
And like all great relationships, sometimes you have to sing an unfamiliar tune. So the First Minister had a proper go at Kimi Gayo, Japan's national anthem, even if Paddington stayed away for that bit. Anyway, it might be 6,000 miles from Wales to Japan, but at least we sing the same songs. Rob Shelley, ITV News in Conway.
Weather time now then, and many will, I'm sure, be hoping for a bit of calm after the storms. So let's find out what's ahead with Nick Miller.
A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
Hello, still blustery today, though not as stormy as it was yesterday. The UK's highest wind gust from Storm Bram came in Wales. That was at Capel Cerrig in Eryri, 84 mile per hour wind yesterday. And of course, we've had more rain. Look at this rainfall anomaly map from the Met Office showing departure from average December rainfall. Much of the country light brown. That's more than 50% of the average whole of December rainfall, which should be closer to 30% in the first 9 days. But there are some areas in white here, across Balaibrychiniog in particular, where we've had close to all of our average December rainfall so far. So clearly very wet, clearly impacts from the rain. Will it rain again soon? Well, the answer to that is yes, but just one band of rain moving through between now and the end of the weekend. It's this one, it's tomorrow night. It will produce some outbreaks of heavy rain, but then it clears on through, and then we wait until the second half of the weekend when this will start to arrive, and into Monday as well. And again, the potential for further impacts from rain and flooding, and we'll keep you updated. We have a quieter spell of weather underway right now, though, lasting through the night and much of the day tomorrow. Mix of cloud and clear spells, still enough of a breeze to stop the temperature falling too far. Mid to low single figures across parts of rural Powys, for example, though most of us above that starting the day tomorrow. On a fine note, cloud is going to increase, and then through the afternoon, late on, we'll see some outbreaks of rain pushing in towards the west, and that will feed across the country into tomorrow night. So here it comes. There will be heavier bursts in this. It'll take some time to clear, but by Friday morning should be out of the way, and then a bright and cooler day to end the week.
TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
And that's Wales at 6. Mike Griffiths will be back with the late update after news at 10. But for now, have a lovely rest of your evening. Bye-bye.